Hello everyone, my name is Ruslan, and this is the Loft Games channel. Today, we'll take a closer look at the new feature in Farming Simulator 25, rice. To begin with, rice is grown in flooded fields. How do we create such a rice field? This is done through the construction menu. Press the shortcut Shift plus P. Go to the production section and scroll until you reach the cultivation section. Here we have grapes, olives, and what we need, a rice field. A rice field can be built anywhere, whether it's a field or a meadow. Simply click the left mouse button and stretch out the boundaries of the future field. Click again and drag in another direction. Once you've clicked a third time, the game prompts you to finish the field. So, you need a minimum of 2 segments, and the third one can be added automatically. Right-click, and your rice field is ready. The field can be drawn in almost any shape. Just create points, and once you've outlined the field, right-click to finish it. To prevent water from draining from the rice field, it cannot have a slope. Therefore, while creating the field, the landscape is deformed. The terrain adjusts to the first point. For example, let's place the first point somewhere higher up. You'll see that the marker for the next point is on the ground, but the boundary of the future field hangs in the air. After outlining the field and right-clicking, we end up with something like a balcony. You can do the opposite. Place the first point somewhere lower, and then outline the field up a slope. When you right-click, the field will kind of dig out its spot. This way, you can create rice terraces. If you outline a field and press the N key several times, you can lower the field's level. When you then right-click, the field will be created in a pit. The opposite effect happens if you press the M key. The field will be raised above the ground level. Right now, for some reason, the field didn't work. I'll lower it slightly. There we go, now it's ready. Of course, all this doesn't come for free. The cost depends on both the size of the field and the terrain that needs to be reshaped. What else? We can pre-plan where the water pump will be placed. The pump is installed in the middle of the first line. For example, if we want to place the pump right at the corner of the field, we simply stretch the line, and the pump will be positioned exactly there. Once the field is outlined, right-click, and the pump is in the desired spot. Next, if we've misplaced the first point and want to detach it, simply press Escape. If, while placing points, you set one in the wrong spot, press the B key, and the last point will be removed. You can press it multiple times to delete all points up to the first one. By default, you can draw lines freely in any direction. But if you press R, the lines will snap to the game grid. This allows you to create perfectly rectangular fields aligned at right angles to the map edges. You can toggle grid snapping on and off during field layout, which can be handy. If you need to delete a rice field, switch to construction mode, press Escape, and then B. Hover the cursor over the field. If the pump is highlighted, left-click it and confirm the deletion. This way, you can remove all rice fields. However, the terrain won't revert to its original state, so you'll need to smooth it out manually. Incidentally, constructing rice fields can be useful as a leveling tool. For example, choose a point at the desired height, place points along the boundary of the area you want to level, and optionally adjust the height using the N or M keys. Then, right-click to complete the process. The rice field will be created and effectively level the area. You can then delete it. Of course, you'll still need to paint over the area, plant grass, or plow a new field. Naturally, this will be very expensive. This isn't advice to take action, just something to keep in mind as a possibility. Alright, let's move on and build a rice field at the starting form. Grid snapping is enabled. It's more convenient for me this way. I want the pump to be positioned right at the beginning of the field, so I make the first click at the corner and move the cursor until the line appears. Once the line is visible, I click again. That's it, the pump will be placed at this spot. Next, I stretch the line to the end of the field, click again at the corner, and continue to the next corner. After another click, I see a green outline. If I right-click now, I'll get a perfectly rectangular rice field. That's basically it. Now we approach the pump, get close, and press the R key. A menu pops up, and we simply press the button to flood the field. Done, water fills the field. Meanwhile, we head to the store, look for the section with unusual crops, and immediately spot the rice planters category. Open it, and there's only one planter available. It costs 25,000, affordable for any farmer at the start of the game. Let's buy it. In the same section, we find a rice harvester. It's also inexpensive, just 95,000. Next, we won't seed the field but plant rice seedlings. The seedlings are also purchased from the store, and we'll discuss their price shortly. For now, I'll grab 4 boxes of seedlings. We've got everything we need. You can transport it to the farm yourself or send it with a hired worker. I decided to load everything onto a low loader trailer. Arriving at the farm, the field is ready. Water looks beautiful with reflections, ripples, and all that. We take the planter, drive up to the pallet with seedlings, and press the R key. The seedlings load into the planter. Next, we head to the field, set up GPS, unfold the planter, lower it, and turn it on. Alright, let's move on and build a rice field at the starting farm. We're planting our rice. I want to draw your attention to the animation. It's incredibly well done. I criticize a lot of things in the game, but this planter was made with real care. The platform holding the seedling trays moves like the carriage of a typewriter, and the manipulators underneath seem to grab the seedlings and plant them in the ground. Honestly, I was mesmerized for a minute. Just for a minute, though, then I stopped caring. An important note, when the planter drives near the edge of the field, it can't plant rice all the way to the border. So it's best to plant along the headland first, that is, start by planting rice around the perimeter of the field. Another feature of the planter is how it gets refilled. You load it with trays, and if you try to top up a partially used planter, only the completely empty slots will refill. In this case, for example, only the empty slots at the front were filled. Guys, I'm planting rice on this field just for the sake of this video, and I'm already tired of it. So I left the field as is and went to sleep for 4 days. The rice is right now, and take a look at its state. On the map, the field is all patchy, and it doesn't look great. More on that later. For now, let's harvest the rice. It's straightforward. I, for example, use GPS for this. You could also use a helper. The harvester's working width isn't very large, so for your first time, don't make a big field. Rice, like any other grain crop, can be unloaded into a trailer or stored in a silo. If you're tired of growing rice, you don't need to remove the rice field. Watch, I'm cultivating the land right now to remove the rice. After that, you can sow and plant any crops on this field. Even if the field is flooded, nothing happens to the crops. Of course, no sensible person would do that. That said, nothing but rice can be planted in water. This part is realistic. To plant something else, you'll either need to wait for the next month or manually drain the field. To do this, approach the pump, press the R key, and select the empty button. The pump drains the water from the field right onto the road. In real life, the whole farm would probably turn into a muddy mess from this process. 1 hour is enough to completely drain the field, and after that, you can plant regular crops. Flooded land can still be worked on without any issues. Fertilizers can be applied, and the soil can be plowed. Of course, nobody would normally work flooded land unless you're growing rice and some other crop on the same field. Crops in water can also be harvested without a problem, but it's highly unlikely you'll engage in such practices. Now let's talk about the yield, what affects it, and so on. So, I made some test fields, each 10 by 100 meters, meaning 1000 square meters per field. Next, I'm turning these 4 fields into rice paddies. I switch to construction mode, press it to enable grid snapping. Click on one corner of a field, and drag a line downward along the field to place a pump. I click again, continue to the end of the field, then move to the opposite corner and right-click to finish. Using this method, I've created 4 rice paddies. I turn on the pumps for each field. At this point, you can already plant rice without losing anything. But for aesthetic satisfaction, I'll wait an hour to let the water fill up completely. By the way, I almost finished the video before remembering to mention this. You can check if a field is flooded by using the irrigated filter on the map. As soon as you press the flood button, the field's status changes to irrigated. Now I'm planting rice on each field. Planting so much rice for this video made me hate this planter. Anyway, all 4 rice fields are planted. Rice is a very demanding crop, and it needs water almost until it matures. But it's not too much trouble. The water level stays at 65% the whole time, and I honestly don't understand what the point of this fill indicator is. Anyway, let's fast forward to 11:30 p.m. Watch this. At midnight, the water disappears, and at the same time, the rice transitions to its next growth stage. You could immediately refill the fields with water, but it's already too late, so I'll skip to noon the next day. Now I'm filling 3 fields with water and leaving the 4th one untouched. Then I fast forward again to just before midnight. Oh, and I forgot to turn off weather damage, so let me clarify. As soon as the clock strikes midnight, take a look at the map. On the field that wasn't refilled with water, bare patches have appeared, and the crop has simply vanished. Just a reminder, weather damage is turned off for this test. We fast forward to the next day, and this time, I turn on the pumps for the first 2 fields. Then we skip straight to the following day. I open the map, and it's a complete mess. Some of the rice has disappeared, some has dried out, but the rice in areas that had water is fully intact. If you try to turn the pumps on now, nothing will happen. In total, you need to activate the pumps only 3 times, the first time before planting the rice, and the second and third times in the following months. Yes, months, if your in-game month lasts 3 days, but water will stay for those 3 days. Now it's time to harvest. First, let me show you the yield from the dried out field. It's not representative, but it gives you an idea. Anything that dried out can't be harvested, but whatever, we managed to get 636 liters. Next, we harvest from the first field. The field wasn't well maintained, but it was consistently flooded, so all the rice survived. This means we should collect the base yield. This time, we got 720 liters. However, based on my calculations, it should have been 809 liters. Regular viewers of the channel know how meticulous I am, and I won't rest until I get those 809 liters from the field. I won't go into detail about everything I tried, but eventually, I downloaded a modded planter that can plant rice. I also tweaked some game files to allow planting rice on a regular field. In the end, I managed to harvest those 809 liters. So, what's the issue here? It seems that because of the slope of the field's edges, the water doesn't cover the entire field. This means part of the area along the edges isn't being used. After trying different approaches, I created a rice field that was 1 meter longer and wider than the original field. I planted rice again and finally got the 809 liters. By the way, when I tested oats on the same field, the yield was also accurate. So, the problem isn't the water. It's just that when a rice field is created, it steals part of the area, about half a meter from each edge. Now, with peace of mind, I can move on to discussing the yield. And since I've come to hate the rice planter, the yield experiment will be as brief as possible. At least, brief for this channel. So, I planted rice again and harvested it. Where does the 809 liter figure come from? The base yield for rice is 660 liters per 1000 square meters. Weeds don't grow in rice fields, which automatically gives a 20% bonus. Rolling isn't required either, which provides an additional 2.5% bonus automatically. This means 660 liters plus 22.5% equals 808.5 liters, which rounds up to 809 liters. This is the yield you'll get during the first harvest if you do absolutely nothing else. However, yields will increase in subsequent harvests. During the rice harvest, straw is left behind, which gives the field the mulched status, adding a 2.5% bonus for the next harvest. Additionally, the areas where rice is harvested receive 1 layer of fertilization. I'd love to hear an explanation of this mechanic, as it relates to real-life rice farming. On the downside, lime isn't consumed by rice fields. While this means you don't need to deal with lime, it also prevents you from increasing your yield by an additional 15%. What does all this mean? Simply by planting and harvesting rice without doing anything else to the field, you automatically receive a 47.5% yield bonus. To demonstrate this, I decided to plant rice again. But you can't do this immediately, the planter requires water to operate, and you can't flood the field until it's cultivated. For clarity, I bought a regular disc harrow and cultivated the field. Then I flooded it and planted rice again. To verify the calculations, I harvested rice from the field for the second time. 660 liters plus 47.5% equals 973.5 liters, which rounds up to 974 liters. However, because not all of the field was mulched, I got 969 liters instead. What else increases yield? Plowing. Here's something important to note. If you start with a field that requires plowing and convert it into a rice field, it will still require plowing. Similarly, if you build a rice field on an empty plot, it will also need plowing. But look, here I have a small field that requires plowing. Now I plow the land, and after plowing, I set up a rice field. In this case, the rice field doesn't require plowing. So, if you've built your rice field on land that doesn't require plowing, congratulations! You'll get an additional 15% yield bonus. However, if you're like me and set up a rice field on unprepared land, you'll need to plow it. If you're already growing crops that require regular plowing, you likely already have a plow. If not, a subsoiler will be more convenient. Even early in the game, you can get a subsoiler with a 4-meter working width for $12,000. It only requires 150 horsepower, meaning even some small tractors can handle it. Alternatively, you can rent a subsoiler if necessary. After harvesting rice, the field doesn't need plowing, meaning you don't have to plow the soil after every harvest. However, you still need to cultivate the land to plant a new batch of rice. While you can cultivate using a subsoiler, I recommend using a regular cultivator due to the subsoiler's relatively narrow working width. Personally, I would opt for a disc harrow. You can gain an additional 22.5% yield bonus by applying a second layer of fertilizer. Fertilizer can be spread on the field using a distributor, but the seeder already has a built-in fertilizing system. All you need to do is fill it with granular fertilizer and head to the field. The seeder will simultaneously plant rice and apply the second layer of fertilizer. In essence, that's all you need to do to achieve maximum yield. Simply keep the seeder filled with fertilizer, as the other bonuses are applied automatically. So, 660 liters plus 85% equals 1221 liters from 1000 square meters. Right now, we harvested 1217 liters, again because not all of the field was mulched. All bonuses have been applied except for lime. When we create a rice field, there's no need for lime. And while we're harvesting rice, the need for lime doesn't appear. But if you plant other crops, they do require lime, and then of course you'll need to apply lime. But as I said, rice doesn't care about lime at all. To confirm this, I'm currently cultivating these two fields. We just harvested barley from both fields. On one of them, I applied lime. The second field needs lime. I've flooded the fields again and I'm planting rice once more, hoping this will be the last time. From the field where I applied lime, we harvested 809 liters of rice. And from the field that needs lime, we also harvested 809 liters. I repeat, there's no difference. Now let's talk about the financial side. I'll only talk about direct sales, not production. In times of economic hardship, rice can be sold for $11.50 per 1,000 liters. That's not the absolute maximum price, but it's pretty close. So, our 1221 liters will be sold for $14.04. If we talk about revenue per area, it's a third more than soybeans. By the way, rice also grows faster, so it's an advantage for a beginner farmer. Of course, there's more hassle with rice because of the width of the equipment, but still. However, there's an important point. A box of seedlings costs $450. For 1,000 square meters, you need just over 15 liters, or trays, call it whatever you like, which costs almost $300. It's really expensive. So, it's absolutely necessary to grow rice seedlings yourself. For this, we go into the construction menu, click through to the production section, and select the greenhouses menu. The very first greenhouse produces rice seedlings. It costs $3,000, the same as 6 pallets of seedlings. To produce seedlings, only water is needed. We go to the store and look for a water tanker. You can choose one that only carries water, but there's a universal one that can transport all main liquids. Let's take that one. Water can be taken from bodies of water on the map, although it's not always convenient. You can set up a water pump on the farm. Just drive up to the filling marker and press R. The water fills up. However, since we're growing rice, water is almost always right next to us. We drive onto the rice field and press R again. The tanker fills with water. Thanks to one of my followers for this life hack. We drive up to the greenhouse, place the trailer right by the water marker, and press I to unload the water. As we can see, 8,000 liters is a lot. The greenhouse only holds 2,000. To make the greenhouse work, it needs to be activated. You can press escape and do this through the production menu. But since we're already here, let's go into the greenhouse itself, approach the marker, and press R. Then, we press the activate button. Each cycle consumes 3 liters of water and gives 1 tray of seedlings, with 48 cycles per month. In practice, this means that each month we will receive 2 pallets of rice seedlings. If you, like me, play a month a day, each box will appear every 12 hours. Then you can take these seedlings to the field or refill the planter right by the greenhouses. There is also long grain rice in the game. I'll say a few words about it. Everything I've said about regular rice applies to long grain rice as well, except for the equipment. Long grain rice is harvested with a regular combine. The field is mulched during harvest and fertilized with one layer of fertilizer. After harvesting, no plowing is needed either. Long grain rice is planted with a regular seeder on a dry rice field, and if you use a direct seed drill, you won't even need a cultivator. And of course, it's better to use a seeder with fertilizer right away. This rice doesn't need lime, so there's no bonus for lime either. On the planting day, you won't be able to fill the field with water, but once the rice grows, you'll need to keep the field flooded for 3 more months. Long grain rice grows for 5 months, a month longer than regular rice. The base yield of rice is 900 liters per 1,000 square meters. Adding 85%, you should harvest 1,665 liters. Right now, we are 1 liter short. For direct sale, long grain rice is sold for about $550 per 1,000 liters. Again, that's not the absolute maximum price. So, from 1,000 square meters, we will earn around $915, which is less than regular rice and a bit less than soybeans. But, if we compare it to soybeans, beans require more careful management to achieve maximum yield, while rice is essentially just planted and harvested. Now, regarding harvesting other crops on rice fields, with simple harvesting, there are no visible issues. However, on a rice field, it's impossible to dump bulk materials. It was suggested that this might be because the rice field is considered a building, and you might think, well, if you can't dump anything, then okay. However, not all crops are harvested directly into the combine. For example, when mowing grass on a rice field, it doesn't appear on the field either. It only shows up when the mower leaves the rice field. Or when harvesting with swathing, the mowed crop only appears outside the field. Take straw, for example. If you spread straw, everything works fine, and mulching is done. But if you activate the straw separation, the straw won't drop. Not a bit. No matter how long the combine stays on the field, it will endure, but it won't drop a gram of straw. But the moment it crosses the boundary of the rice field, it starts a full eruption. Everything that the combine has been holding in now spills out. I won't even measure this pile, but it seems like it contains the entire amount of straw that should have come off this field. I don't know what causes this behavior, but I'll wrap up the video on this note. Thank you for watching, for the likes, and for the positive comments. And goodbye, everyone.